Here. All righty. Let's see. The light is on. Yay. And Diane is here.
Hi, Diane.
Oksana is here. Beautiful. All right, everybody. I love to hear you welcome, Dove. Can you welcome us?
Okay, it's a great pleasure that I welcome everyone here, and thank you so much for joining us for present happiness. And that's the only time that happiness is real. It's right here, right now, in the present. And without further ado, we're just going to turn this mic on over to you, Rosalind Rock. This mic is all yours.
Thank you so much. And hi, Rico. All right, everybody. I wrote to you, let me see what his words were, and said, where he said, Mooji said, have you ever said, where is it? I'm just going to use my own words. I want to always be consciously conscious of who I am. How many of us have said that in one way or another? I want to remember. I want to always know. I want to, some word like that. Yeah, yes, most of you. Is there anybody who's never said anything like that? Raise your hand. No. So we're going to play his video. It's quite refreshing and startling what he says. And before we get there, I just want to take a few minutes to say a few intro words. And then I want to do an exercise so we get there also. But I want to wait a minute because people are still coming. Can everybody mute themselves? Hi, Araba. So good to see you. Hi, Pam. People are coming in. So what's going on when we say, I want to remember? It means we've changed location, right? We're feeling ourselves as a separate person, and we think we're remembering, or we want to remember with our small minds. That's what we're trying to do. A Course in Miracles says several places, more than several, I'm sure Dove will tell us, but I can think of two places offhand just that come to me. I'm not a body. I'm still as God created me. Also, chapter 10 in the text, section 2, tells us something very interesting. It fits exactly with what Mooji says, which is, and I'm not going to tell you the way he opens up this memory of who we really are and the struggle that we have to keep on remembering. But I'm going to tell you that there's one place that they intersect, and that's the Course in Miracles says that we disassociate. We knew first, and then we decided to forget. And that's where it says the decision to forget in section 2 of text chapter 10. Mooji doesn't focus, nor does non-duality focus on that decision, but the result is the same. What non-duality says is that we've been taught that the conditioning since we were born. So what happens in utero? In utero, we're one with everything. No matter what the conditions are in utero, it's all we know, and we're one with that. We don't say, well, I'd rather have it another way. It'd be better if my mother had a better attitude, or it would be better if the conditions, no, nothing like that. Yes, the brain is not developed, but all we know is oneness. Both non-duality and A Course in Miracles say that we were consciousness before we became a fetus. So we were everything. It's like light. Light is everywhere. If we want to locate it inside a prism, it's like we can trap it. And for that moment, this is a non-scientist talking, it can appear in colors, and it appears that it's going through the prism, but it still belongs to all of the light. Raise your hand if you're with me. Yes, you're with me. Okay, the same is true of space, right? The space in our room, it feels like the space belongs to our room. We have walls, a ceiling, a floor, but the space is part of all the space. It just appears that it's in our room. Raise your hand if you're with me, right? Okay, so that's the same with us. We appear to ourselves to be inside a body and separate from the whole of being. And when we say we're one, it's not a metaphor, it's literal, it's concrete. It's we belong to the one beingness. And we're going to do an exercise, and then we're going to go to the Mooji video so that we're really in our heart mind prepared to hear what he says. I want to tell you a few things. You're going to hear him say this in the video, but I want you to hear it many times. I is consciousness. I is the godly voice present within you. I is presence. I is self-knowing. I is synonymous with presence. It is your intuitive self-knowing. When consciousness is available, you appear as I. When consciousness is not available, you are the absolute. When consciousness is available, you are still the absolute, but you are appearing as I, as the witness of the play. That's that world that we look at where there appear to be separate bodies and all this action, and we have to do and think. Now, those of you who were in my Monday class or heard the replay, he uses some of the same sentences, but this is a different video. And we could listen to that one many times, but this happens to be a different video. But those particular sentences are also in the other video. And I just love them. I can't hear them enough. They just resound with me. So now let's do an exercise where we don't just talk, but we enter with our energy, with our body mind, with the mind with a capital M. Let's start with a problem, any problem at all. It could be big, it can be small. You don't have to have a problem, just an irritation, something that troubled you today, preferably recently, if you can remember the energy with it. Just irritation's enough. Bigger problem is good too. Now go to your location. If we went to the problems that I mentioned last week where I made a lot of mistakes, or other people made mistakes, whether I was blaming them or I was feeling that heart pang, that knife in the stomach. Even tonight, I had a grammatical error but tonight it didn't bother me. It didn't feel like a pang. It was in the Zoom invite, there was a grammatical error. By this week, the energy had moved. Last week, it would have been that feeling of not enough. Now I know enough. I remember enough to know that that's a false, small idea from my small mind, but it still had an energy with it. And so I want you to recognize that location of your trouble, that location that I had when I was making mistakes. And you know, there aren't any mistakes. We all know that. But that wasn't enough to take care of it for me last week. And maybe you had that experience recently when you had a trouble. So know where your location is. Your location is in the separate self. Okay, now we're all in the same boat. We all, when we have these moments, we are looking for a portal, a doorway back to the oneness, because that's what feels like home for more and more of us. And for those who it doesn't feel like home yet, it's the new home that you want to live in, live by. But Mooji says, you know that home. A Course in Miracles says, we know that home, but we have something that I like the phrase Mooji used. He said, we've developed an affection for the mind, for the small mind, and we like to place it center stage. So rate that trouble as you felt it, 0 to 10, 10 being the worst. Now you're located in the small mind because you believe the mind is the small mind is the vehicle of the separate self. It negotiates for you. It does all your work, and it promises it's going to fix everything for us. Now let's go from our problems and our separate self through a doorway. I'm going to give you a doorway, but first I want you to think of the doorway that you usually use to get back to truth. Maybe it's your lesson of the day. Maybe it's your beloved dog who loved you and has passed. And that love is so transcendent and was so complete, the way dogs or other animals love us, and the way we love them with a completeness, holding nothing back. Sometimes that's our portal. Sometimes our portal is nature. Sometimes our portal is music. Sometimes our portal is our parents who passed on, or a beloved son or daughter or partner. Sometimes people actually remember their childhood innocence, and that's a doorway. Sometimes people just go to the quiet, to the silence, or to a mantra or a mudra or a kundalini exercise. They're all the same, they're all portals. And now we're going to go into the space of our room, into the space from outside, into the space as though we're a spaceship going into the galaxies, because space is unlimited, just like light, just like the energy of our being, just like the ultimate, just like the absolute. The absolute is us, and we are the absolute. Just feel yourself as part of everything. You belong just as you are. No change necessary. Nothing is needed. And from this place, you can just relax in this place. And I'm going to turn on that Mooji video. I want you to be able to hear it from that centeredness that you are now.
Sometimes people say, I'm not always conscious that I am this. You see? Like quite often my attention goes and then I forget that I am this. And it troubles them. They want to say, I want to be consciously conscious of who I am all the time. But when we say like this, it's almost as though you take on a task, a job, to be conscious, which you're not able to do.
Yes.
You see, the you who is doing this is not able to do it. So what I point out to is like, what is your name?
Rotem.
Rotem. Rotem. Your parents gave you this name?
Yes.
Rotem. Okay. So when this body appeared, it didn't come with the name Rotem on it. It had no name.
Yes.
And some people decide offer name to this child.
Yes.
Okay. Female name. Boom boom. Name is offered. And for a while you don't know this name. It means nothing to you. It's just another sound in that infant state. And only another thing. The only time that that name began to register something was when the consciousness behind it could hold the impression of the name. You see?
Yes, yes.
The name gets somehow embedded in the consciousness, and the consciousness adopted the name Roshem?
Rotem.
Rotem. Then okay. And then gradually associate, okay, I am Rotem. So before that, your name is I. Like, our name is I. You say, I did this, I. And then I am Rotem. Okay? Now, so that name is not original to you. It came. And once you accepted this name, it stayed with you. You are not anymore consciously remembering the name. Any moment someone says, John, you don't, Rotem, yes. You see how much time it takes you, and you're not actively remembering. In the same way, you're not actively remembering or forgetting who you are. It's only because of the mind why we're saying this thing that I forget who I am. But you are who you are. Even before remembering and forgetting come, you're that. It's completely gapless. And I just want to say this thing. Maybe the mind tries to understand what that means. It doesn't matter. I am announcing it into your being. And something, yes, something knows this. And it will do its work, continue.
So there's, okay, I hear, and immediately it says, okay, what to do? Then what to do?
Yeah, what to do is the mantra of the mind.
Yes.
What to do? What to do? And so something, this understanding is settling by itself.
Okay.
It's not the mind's work to make it settle.
Okay.
It's something inside you is so powerful, so mighty. It takes care of everything.
Mental and
Mute yourselves.
from life and from the past. Flame up the pure stream.
But
Bless my form and make me whole. Pour comfort into my soul and enlightenment from my mind. I am God's perfection manifest in body, mind, and soul. I am God's healing light flowing to
Where
me.
is that coming from? Is that from you, Dove? Is that on your end?
It's Keith.
I'm sorry. I thought I was on mute. Sorry.
All righty. All right, we'll go back.
sure, somehow the seed of doubt came, then you forgot your power. And then we're looking to the mind to take up the job. Mind
Yes.
applied for the job.
Yes, yes,
I'll
yes,
do it.
Yes.
And
yes,
so mind start to do the job not well.
yes.
It invents things and predict and
Yeah.
pretends and
It feels
stuff.
like obsession, actually.
Huh?
It has been feeling like obsession. Now it's about this, how to
Yeah.
find and how to, yeah.
And so you, the beingness,
Mhm.
the consciousness, began to somehow develop first an affection for the mind
Yes,
and also give over your authority a little bit.
yes,
It's
yes,
very subtle, these things, but it
Yes.
happens.
yes,
And then we start to rely on our mind.
yes,
It becomes your personal
yeah.
Google for everything. You're going like this.
Mhm.
But somehow something is changing. Something, a natural,
Unfoldment.
yeah, retracing of the steps, coming back to your original being, the consciousness of your original being, which hasn't moved out of place to make the mind come in. It has always just been there. It's almost as though what we call mind became a kind of eclipse, and the attention went towards the cultivated being, the mind stuff. And in doing that, somehow you became unaware again. It's like that's how it seems to work. I is synonymous with presence. It is your intuitive self-knowing. When the consciousness is available, you appear as I. When consciousness is not available, you are the absolute. When the consciousness is available, you are still the absolute. But you are appearing through I as the witness of all the play of manifestation. That I and the absolute, they are synonymous. They are one. One is your dynamic expression. The other one is your ineffable reality, your being. All of this, you don't have to really learn. I don't encourage people, learn, study. I don't trust learning, but more recognizing and direct experience and confirming. And through this path of guidance, you're coming into natural insights taking place for you. And these insights make your seeing your own truth. You'll understand them so deeply. Maybe you won't be able to express what you're seeing, not explain, but the job is done. You can never anymore be living in habitual routine fear. Fear may come, sadness can come, every anger can come, frustration can come, but they come and go just as quickly because they don't have something to land upon, because you're home. You see, when we make mind and body only your home, then we are in a sort of fearful condition because you are time bound. This is why everybody's in a hurry to try and get as much life in before you burn out. But you are the infinite and timeless being. And this knowledge, this conviction is going to come from inside you, not from outside. It's arising from inside you, from the source of your being, and it's entering into the conscious field because this is where our attention is. And it's speaking to your attention in the conscious field to say, I am here, you're home. You see? So therefore, your report that I am watching all of these things. And I ask you, is it an active watching, meaning that are you interested in you're itemizing your seeing, or is it just a sort of panoramic and effortless, casual seeing of the world?
They're both.
They are both
Yes.
very good, very, very good. So even when there is an active focusing on something, it doesn't leave the grand seeing. Even that focus seeing can happen without you're inside the great seeing.
Yes.
And nothing is lost.
Yes.
You see?
Yes.
It's just a natural functioning of
I
consciousness.
see that. It just doesn't feel like me. It doesn't feel, the identification does not sit there.
Yes, yes. Identification doesn't have to. Identification is only a phenomenon. We're watching that. Your identification is not steady, not steadfast. It is constantly, it's like a ever-changing self-portrait. It's always a work in progress. It has no fixed reality. You are the reality in whose presence even the idea, the identity is playing, changing. It's not fixed. Even in one short period, it is affected by moods also, by time, by all of these things have an effect upon how you experience dynamically. It's not fixed. So don't put too much importance on that. You are the root in whose presence all of this change is occurring and is being perceived also spontaneously without effort. It's occurring. Such is the nature of the pure consciousness. And you come to know there's nothing I need to do to be this. There's no step that needs to be taken, really. Imagine steps. The step is a step of understanding. And in this understanding, I find myself as I've always been. I can't say how I come to know this, but it's deep within me. I can't write a thesis about it, but I feel something inside is so clear.
Okay, before we start chatting again, I would like you to revisit that place that was troubled. And now, instead of looking with those focused eyes, with those eyes of the interest from a personal self, what if you looked from the larger perspective, from inside the grand seeing, from awareness itself, from the place that you are, presence, your Godness? And are you a little bit less interested in it? Has it lost a little bit of the energy? You will still see it. You will still have reactions when something like that happens, because life is intimate and you're a sentient being. But can you also witness your reaction and know that that is what you are? Remember who you are and what you are. It is right around the corner from the way we have been responding. It's right there. It's available because we already know it. There are no steps to getting there. Oneness has been our experience. It is our experience. We've just gotten veiled. We've veiled ourselves from this knowing. We are the root like the tree. The leaves and the branches might sway in the weather, but we are the roots. We are rooted in beingness. And whatever we're identified with in that moment, like we were when we had a trouble or a problem or an irritation, Mooji shined a new light on that for me, and I hope for you. When you recognize yourself as being identified with a personal self, it might just be that mood. It doesn't mean you're stuck there. It's just a reflection of that second. And so I would like you to come back to the room with your experience and your knowing that you can never forget, because it's only the small mind that tries to manage the knowing. And it's really not part of that system at all. Beingness has always known and will always know, and that is what you are. So we don't have to ask the small mind to help us what's not their domain. When A Course in Miracles is mind training, they're mind training you out of the small mind from lesson 1 on. It's the big mind that has always known and will always know, because we're part of everything. How can we not know what we are? Thank you. Open it up to anybody. Lynn, yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Rosalind. Mighty companions, your voice is a portal. That's great. You know, I'm just I had an experience yesterday, ironically, that that we're talking, it's I related to today. Well, I found myself restless and looking out of the window, thinking I should go out, and that should, and just not feeling at peace. And then I realized something. I wasn't in love, and you know, and I choose love. I wrote something down. It's a little poem, maybe, and I call it Home. You wipe my eyes from dust's disturbance, residue of tears that are no more. So glad to be in light again, embraced in love as I am.
Beautiful. Home is always there. And you return there through that portal of love. Love is a portal.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Anybody want to talk about their experience today, or any new awarenesses or insights?
I had a,
Suzanne, yeah.
yeah, I think sometimes I get into the fix it mode, what Mooji was talking about with doing instead of being. And when I get into that mode, what I'm trying to do lately is to see that everything is a lesson. So I had this big blowout about something that I think I should fix, and I don't know how to fix it, and calling and Googling and getting into my frenzy. And just to fast forward, today, as I was walking my dog, I met this man. I see him every once in a while. He stops and says something. I don't know him. I don't know his name. And what he said to me was, and I like this man. He's very kind. He seems nice. What he said was the exact thing I was trying to fix. He was doing what I didn't like. And here he was telling me how much he really liked my dog and wanted to pet my dog. I see him maybe twice a month. And then we started talking about animals and about humane conditions for animals. And it turns out that in his humaneness, he was doing something that I believed, and that was important, was inhumane. And I thought, oh, that's the lesson. The lesson is that I have these beliefs, and that fortunately, when I get into these frenzies now, it seems like something happens because the Holy Spirit is leading me to somebody or something that's going to show me my block in that thinking. Not that my thinking is not okay. It's just that there's more than one way to look at it. Mm-hmm. And that everybody that does this is not evil and not bad and all that kind of stuff. And so slowly but surely, the rant that I was on, the whole thing, it's like the message is coming to me. And it's sort of like me saying, what am I supposed to do about this? What am I supposed to do? How do I fix it? And the message was, perhaps I could look at it different ways. There's nothing to do. It's been around forever. The problem has been around forever. There's no interest in it. Mm-hmm. There's only there's only ways to gather the spoils of the problem. There are no ways to fix the problem. And that was all just a very big, sort of, oh, to me.
The other way to see that is that there are no problems.
Right. And so what I'm doing is I'm judging that there is a problem. I'm saying I'm doing this whole judging thing rather than sitting back and then when I get into my rants, sitting back and saying, God's got this. God's got this. It's already been done. It's already fixed. Just relax. Enjoy the day.
Mhm. And if you are what God is, then even you are taken care of with that.
Right. But I think I do have, and I love it too, the affection for my mind.
Yes, isn't that a great expression? I love that.
Yes.
How many
Yeah.
of us don't just love our mind?
Yeah, the affection for my mind. And that's going to keep me hopefully laughing for a long time. Oh, here I am again,
Yeah, so
So,
beautiful.
yeah,
So
thank you.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. John?
Yeah, I like to comment on your exercise, Rosin. I loved it. And my issue went from a 10 all the way down to a 0.
Wow.
And then when you said that it's okay that I could feel that kind of stuff, it actually went up to a 1 after you said that. That was really funny. But I was amazed that was my experience. But however, I would like to just comment what it was a kind of a layering effect. Like, in 3D printing, you just build on layers. And the bottom layer was the conscious. I so love that identity thing, the consciousness that I came with. And then, that we got built until it got to an I consciousness. And then it got to a Johnny consciousness, And that's the way we affectionately love ourselves.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. It was a lovely exercise. I just love coming here to your programs. And last week I got lined up for a big lesson, which is the one I dealt with tonight. So I don't know what's coming tomorrow, but I know I'm something coming my way. Thanks, Rosalind.
Thank
Thanks
you,
a lot.
John. Yeah. Rico, thank you.
Good evening, family and friends. Thank you for allowing me to be here on this journey. I send you love and light from my heart to yours. And Rosin, I'm a simple man with a simple song. And I really, really felt what Mooji was talking about. But rather than try to understand the metaphysics of a jazz band, I just looked and says, how could it be applicable and possibly lead the transformation? And I thought about some of the little petty things that are like little upsets. And instead of spending the day there, I could spend a few seconds there and say, oh, don't worry about that. That guy Rico's upset. He'll forget about it in a couple of minutes and go back to the I am.
Mhm.
That was fantastic for me to be able to do that. I need things I could touch and feel. I
Yeah.
come from a very huggy, touchy, feely family. So I felt that, and I looked at some situations in my life in the meditations and said, why am I investing all this time on this petty little thing when I could say, oh, that's just little Rico over there playing. Don't worry about him, and go immediately back to the I am and sit there and be love's presence.
I love that.
Nobody told you that they love you today, Rosin. I love you.
Thank you. What I got was the image when you were talking, Rico, of having that momentary pang, where a rush in your head if you're angry, or a pang in your stomach if you think you made a mistake, or however you feel things. And then using his word and what you were saying, the practicality of withdrawing your interest. You have the reaction, the feeling, but then you can withdraw your interest and go back to presence or awareness or what you really are. But we're not trying to not feel. And it bothers me a little bit that some of these speakers of it call it blissed out, that it's bliss, because it's not wrong or right. These are just limited words and symbols, but we mostly have an association that bliss is the high of when you win the lottery or everything. Bliss is the absence of suffering. How blissful would it be if we never suffered again, if we just had momentary movements of feelings? That would not be suffering, and that would be bliss. So nobody's right and nobody's wrong, but I just would like to perpetuate this feeling of okayness is would be such a gift that we can all achieve. The high of the Watt lottery, no, that's from this world, the highs and the lows, give it all back. So that's my association to what you were saying. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I like that.
Can I say something about what you were saying too? What it reminded me of was what Dove said. And I don't remember who said it, but it's somebody who's not with us any longer. Well, he is, but he's not in body. And he said, we all think we're in the sandbox and people are kicking sand on us, but in reality, there is no sandbox. And that's sort of what you said was, when I think Rico's over there and he's, doing blah, 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 or whatever. And all of a sudden you go, oh, there's no sandbox. I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one hurting me. There's no one judging me. There's no one doing anything because I'm not there. I'm here. And you can bring yourself back. But that's what it reminded me of. That's what it brought me. I haven't thought of that in a while, but that's what you said reminded me of. And it reminds me of me. I can be over there being all me, all agitated and offended. And then I can stay there, or I can say, oh, get out of that. You don't need that.
Thank you, Susan. So beautiful. Yeah. Anybody else? Dove, do you want to weigh in?
Well, as Suzanne mentioned, it was me, but she's right. It was Ken Wapnick, obviously, who said it, and he's passed. And he said, you think your problem is that you're in the sandbox and things are happening in the sandbox. He says, that's not your problem.
Mm-hmm.
Your problem is you think that there's a sandbox and there isn't any sandbox. First of all, I enjoyed the Mooji thing. He said so many things. I don't use pencil and paper to write anything down, so I can hardly remember. But one of the things he says, I don't encourage anyone to learn this stuff because it's the same as the Course in Miracles. After a while, you realize you're learning concepts. And in the last chapter of the Course in Miracles, chapter 31, section 5, called Self-Concept versus Self, he says, salvation could be said to be an escape from all concepts. He's telling you, trying to learn what the book is telling you is what the ego does. The ego loves concepts. It wants to learn. Oh, well, now I know this, now I know that. No, the way home is to say, I do not know what anything is for. You mentioned the word bliss, and my Hindu name is Ananda, which means bliss. And for me, bliss is when I don't have any thoughts in my mind. I am mindless, or, Ramana Maharshi calls it mindless. Some people call it the exact same thing, mindful. Whether it's full or mindless, it's the same thing, but if your mind is thinking of something, you can be sure it's the ego that's doing the thinking. The other thing that came to mind is your soft eyes. If you really listen to what Mooji was saying, he says, if you focus on anything, that's the ego trying to make something important. Of course, as you know from the Course in Miracles, nothing I see here means anything. Nothing is important. And he was saying, you don't focus on anything. And so what came to me is the soft eyes that you bring here. And soft eyes is not trying to understand anything. It's just relaxing into it. I am not a body. I am free. I am still. Not the still like in time, I'm still as God created me, he does repeat it. I say he repeats it 23 times in the course. John Monday, who's going to be on in 15 minutes, I will put the link up if anyone wants to go to the John Monday Zoom class. John says it's in the course 53 times or something like that. I don't know where he gets the other 30 times, but it's there a lot. And there's a reason why it's there a lot. I would say, without listening to Mooji, the easiest way to recognize who you are is to say, I'm not a body. If you identify with any part of your personality, body, there's no way that you can recognize the truth of what you are. The truth of what we are is this wholeness, this holiness. There's nothing your holiness cannot do. But to get to your holiness, you have to let go of everything else. You have to let go and let God. That's my thing. Thanks.
Thank you. Beautiful. Araba, do you have anything to share?
I just wanted to thank everyone here. This exercise that you did, Rosalind, as always, was wonderful. One of the things that came to me from this and from Mooji's conversation was this realization that, we're frantically, or I'll speak for myself, doing all these things to get to a place that we're already at, and it's simply this idea of whether it's the portal or it's the remembering, it's what is it in us that we can already recognize. And I love how Jennifer says the word recognize, in that it's the knowing that we already have and that it is coming back to us, that knowing. And the knowing that I got during this exercise is this enoughness. I think you mentioned that from last time. And it's the enoughness. How can absolute not be enough? And it's one thing to say that as, a concept, but it's another thing to feel it and to simply be with it. And so I felt like there was a lot of peace and a lot of joy in coming back into the knowing. Mm-hmm. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for reminding us that we can't, it's the mind that tries to remember. We haven't forgotten. That's the beauty of what I took. I mean, yes, Mooji said so many wonderful, important things, and it's not a learning, it's taking each one of those things and, as you say, remembering or recognizing, or when he says understanding, he means that feeling, knowing, that recognizing. It's not the mind doing its dance to lead us in our separate journey. Isn't it wonderful that it's all the same for all of us, even though we have different dramas going on, but it's all the same. I just love that. Yeah, thank you, Araba. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to say something because Araba reminded me something there, Rosalind.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I woke up and for some reason or other, I felt kind of patriotic in my bones, and I got some. It's still like a remembrance, and I got some old songs by Leontyne Price, like My Country 'Tis of Thee and Jesse Norman. And I just played them for about an hour, you know, and it was just what she's saying, the feeling that I got from the power, you know, and the connection with our quote origins on this side of the ocean anyway. And it was so powerful and rich that but it's just like a metaphor for the connection to our own original source, you know. So it's just transcendental feelings that I experienced. You know, it's so beautiful. So thanks for reminding me about that, Erica.
Yeah, and thank you, John, for bringing up music. Someone sent me yesterday, and I put it on Facebook, a picture of a man at the border in Poland. He brought his piano, and he's right there greeting the people as they come from that long, arduous journey over the border. He's greeting them with music, and it's freezing out there, as you can imagine, and he's all bundled up, and he's full of light and joy, welcoming everybody with light and joy through the music. No words, just the music. So touching. Yeah, thank you. We have so many portals to know what we know. And let's try, not try, because trying is not doing, and we don't need it doing. Let's know that there's nothing to do, that we are where we're trying to get. We are all that's needed. What if that were true? Let's just take a moment and go back to that space that we were in, that deep, dark, open light. It was dark and it was open. It was dark because most of our eyes were closed, but it was light with the presence. We are the presence. We are what God is. We are the music. We are the holiness. We are the sound. We are the vibration. We are the love. We are the wholeness. We are the presence. We are the awareness. And non-duality says that everything, including the dream, including the play, including the small self, is made up of awareness. It's just awareness that is located in the drama. So even our troubles, our perceived troubles, even the sandbox that's not really there, even the dream that's not real, is all awareness. So it's all okay. Our feelings are okay. Our awareness is okay. Our knowing is okay. And we belong just as we are, just as we have always been. There's only now. There's only presence. There's only all of us that are equal to the one. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. You'd like to speak?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for inviting me, and thank you for. I love your voice. Your voice is so soothing. Like Lynn said, that was a portal.
Yeah.
What you just reminded me of when you said that, and you more than one person shared that the sandbox isn't even here, is that the script is written, and that helps me because yesterday, the thought that came to my mind in the meditation was yesterday I was at a friend's house and they had their dog in a cage. And my perception was that the dog was being unfairly treated. And there's a lot more to it than just the dog being in the cage, but the dog wasn't being walked regularly and all these other things. And, you know, this is what I was really upset about this yesterday, like really, really upset. And I mean, I almost called someone like about cruelty to animals. I mean, it was that I went that far with it in my mind, even though I didn't do anything, but I was very upset. But what you just shared made me realize that and remember that, first of all, I'm never upset for the reason I think. The script is written and all I need to do is choose the Holy Spirit, you know, and ask, and not put my interpretation and my meaning on a situation that I have no idea what it is. You know, I put my interpretation, so the dog's not even there. The sandbox not even there. You know, it's like, so yeah, it's, I mean, I'm not there with it yet, but I am able to say the script is written and all I need to do is ask Holy Spirit. That's all I need to do. That's the only thing I need to do is look at my thoughts and ask to see them differently and ask, you know, help with this, because this really helped me, because I'm feeling peace with it now. I'm feeling a lot of peace with it because I wasn't at peace at all. So I'm just grateful that to be here, and thank you all for sharing everything. Everything was very helpful.
Well, thank you, Karen, and thank you for sharing. We have a few minutes left. Anybody else want to share? I can't tell, Kathy, if you were touching your hair or you were raising your hand. All right, everybody. Well, we can end if we're complete. And we thank you for joining us tonight. And let's take a moment to feel our present happiness. We've been invited, we've shown up, we've been present with heart and mind with a capital M. We've received, we've shared in the silence and with our voices, and we're complete. And thank you all for coming. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Mwah. Love you. Thank you.
And Deb put on the link for John Monday if anybody'd like to attend. Thanks.
Starts in 2 minutes. Okay, bye now.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Rico.
Love you, Lynn.
Love you, Rico.
Where'd John go? I was just going to give him a kiss and he left. No wonder he left.